Greetings. I'm Jordan Horowitz Wolk. Thank you for tuning in to this climate policy brief. Massachusetts BIPOC women farmers. BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, People of Color. In Massachusetts, 40% of our farmers are women, yet they earn less than a quarter of what their male counterparts do. Today, we'll take a look at how fixing this inequity is key to fixing our soil issues. I will introduce a multi-pronged approach, a food resiliency tax that funds a BIPOC women's regenerative grant program. At the intersection, BIPOC women farmers exist at a triple intersection of gender discrimination, systemic racism, and the financial volatility of small-scale farming. While women are 39% of beginning farmers in Massachusetts, 98% of all farmland is white-owned. There is a lack of specific data on BIPOC women farmers. This data gap is a form of erasure that we must bridge. BIPOC women farmers are key players in the potential for climate justice and food sovereignty via regenerative agriculture practices. Let's take a look at Massachusetts soil health. Soil erosion and soil nutrient depletion are at a crisis breaking point. Furthermore, if we reference the Massachusetts Healthy Soils Action Plan, we see that the potential carbon sequestration gains by 2050 are currently projected at virtually zero due to the status quo tillage and monocropping methods. So we aren't simply losing our soil, we are losing our ability to pull carbon out of the atmosphere. And regenerative farming practices are key in reversing this trend. What is regenerative agriculture? Regenerative means life-giving. It moves beyond sustainable, maintaining the status quo, to actually rebuilding ecosystem health. By supporting women farmers with equitable resources, we can increase food production by an estimated 20 to 30%, thereby mitigating food scarcity. Key practices include cover crops, no-till farming, and biological sequestration. And these are similar to traditional indigenous practices that were sidelined by colonization. Let's talk equitable access. Equitable land tenure is one important facet, as well as designing equipment for women's bodies. In addition, equitable access to childcare, healthcare, and access to capital and education. Historically, as I mentioned previously, agriculture was historically indigenous women's work, but colonization shifted the industry to cater primarily to white men. And there is a gap in support. There are currently no state-implemented programs in Massachusetts that specifically address the intersectional needs of BIPOC women farmers. We need to increase equity in access to education, financial resources, loans, and grants. We will start with developing a seed fund by directly fundraising with key donors and then utilizing these funds to produce a YouTube interview series that we will release weekly over a 6 to 12 month period. So we don't need to wait around for the tax to pass to start this important conversation. And through this series, we can highlight the faces and voices of BIPOC women farmers and climate experts to both humanize the data and build pressure for policy change through public education and education for elected officials. And this segues into our food resiliency tax proposal. The funding source is a tax on three specific areas: out of state, highly processed food imports, fast food sales, and pesticides and chemical fertilizer sales. If we look at the math, even a micro tax in only major cities could potentially generate millions of dollars. We are taxing the practices that harm our health and soil to fund the practices that will help heal them. We can delegate these resources in tax funds to a BIPOC Women Farmers Fund and give grants to BIPOC women farmers for education, business needs, and childcare support. The impact is a win-win-win. One, equity. We have funding and education for the most marginalized farmers. Two, the environment benefits. Rebuilding Massachusetts soil and hitting carbon sequestration goals is imperative. And three, well-being. We will fight the food insecurity that affects 1 in 3 Massachusetts households. And with the return to regenerative agriculture practices, we can also mitigate crop loss due to global warming. In close, by supporting BIPOC women farmers, we are not only performing an essential act of justice, but we are also preserving and protecting the literal ground beneath our feet. Please follow up by checking out these consulted sources for more information. I'm Jordan Horowitz Wolk, and thank you for tuning in.